As the geologists continued to study Mount St. Helens, a volcano 4,000 miles away began to rumble. Because of their experience in 1980, the team was convinced a major catastrophe was imminent, and this time, 12,000 lives were at risk. The eruption of Mount St. Helens in May 1980 took the scientific community by surprise. It was the first time they had witnessed firsthand the growth of a massive bulge, a huge landslide, and a powerful lateral blast.
Prior to 1980, we just didn't have the knowledge to make those kinds of specific predictions. We started learning in the 1980s at St. Helens. We've continued to learn at volcanoes around the world, and we've had some successes.
Forecasting volcanic eruptions is difficult because there's no strict pattern to their build-up. But as scientists are becoming more experienced in observing volcanic behavior, they're getting better at making predictions. In 1995, the Soufriere Hills volcano on the Caribbean island of Montserrat started to become restless. It had been quiet for 350 years. Then earthquakes shook it into life again. The island's residents were used to a gently steaming mountain and simply hoped it would die down, as it always had in the past. But when the earthquakes got suddenly stronger, local government officials called for help. A team of American volcanologists flew to the Caribbean to monitor the reawakening.
There developed a situation there whereby there was a region of high seismicity occurred just as St. Helens. If you went up on the mountain, as we did, and just about knocked you to your knees, there were very strong events.
Strong earthquakes weren't the only warning signs. On the south side of the mountain, a monstrous bulge began to form.
There were cracks that were occurring. We could see the cracks were moving every day. It looked like the whole side could fall apart. So we could get a slope collapse there, a major slope collapse.
By October 1997, the bulge was growing at a staggering rate of 280 cubic feet per second. The American scientists were alarmed. Because of their experience on Mount St. Helens, they knew that a collapse of the bulge was imminent. People living in close proximity to the volcano were in acute danger, so they advised the authorities to evacuate the inhabitants immediately.
We did recognize we had a situation analogous to St. Helens. We could get the debris avalanche, we could get a lateral blast. There were people in this instance that were living there, and they ought to get the heck out.
8,000 people had to leave the island. Over 4,000 were forced to move to a safer location to the north. On the 26th of December 1997, the volcano blew. After a cluster of intense earthquakes, a huge part of the bulge broke loose and roared down the valley. Just as at Mount St. Helens, the sudden removal of rock released the pressure on the magma below. A lateral blast surged southwards and propelled a vertical ash column 36,000 feet up into the sky. Within 15 minutes, the eruption devastated 4 square miles of the island and completely buried the capital, Plymouth, under 39 feet of mud.
It wasn't just damaged severely, it was eradicated. There was a bulldozer that was carried off into the sea and dumped into the sea as a result of this. So the lateral force was just tremendous.
Montserrat is a prime example of how lessons learned from one catastrophe can prevent a new one.
Almost everything that occurred at St. Helens did occur at Montserrat. It replicated St. Helens not only in the lateral blasts and so forth, but it did everything that St. Helens did on a smaller scale.